Hi, I'm Nikita from AIM. I'm in my third year at Cambridge studying engineering. And in this video, I'd like to take you through some tips and tricks that I've picked up on how to ace an online interview. Hopefully, this is for something like your Cambridge interview, but this may also apply to things like job interviews. So, hope you enjoy the video.
Before even starting your interview, I would consider how your desk is arranged. I would always recommend having a piece of paper ready, so in case you want to write some working out, etc., it's right here next to you, you don't have to stress about it. You can also have a calculator here if so you need during your interview, that's depending on the subject that you study. Your laptop or device that you'll be interviewing on right here, your water bottle. You may also have an iPad or a tablet device here next to you in case that's what you'll be using to write. I'm going to first show you what it'll be like if you're just using a piece of paper to write, and then you'd like to display it somewhere else. So one tip that you could use is you could use a shelf above your table and the device on the shelf. So I'm going to now start recording here and show you what it looks like from the angle of the iPad. Let's say my interviewer just asks me to write the first 10 numbers. I don't know, very simple interview. So I'd start at 1, you can start at 0, depending on your interview. Well, I've written the first 10 numbers. You can see it clearly from the iPad. I would use a pen, if possible. If you're not using a pen, I would use a dark pencil. Just because, let's say I wrote very faintly with my pen to replicate what a pencil would be like. Not a very sharp pencil. From the height that my device is at, and also because of the fact that my device might not necessarily have the most clarity, this isn't as clear to the interviewer. So I would be sure to make sure the marks you make are visible. If you need to use different colors to emphasize certain things, feel free to use so. I would ask your interviewer if they're happy with that, obviously, but from my experience, most people are quite happy with you using different colors during your interview, etc. So be prepared to make sure you make your life as easy as possible for you with this. Next, I'll show you what if you do not have, obviously, a shelf to hold your device. So here is my arrangement that I would have if I didn't have a shelf to balance my tablet. This could obviously also be a phone, maybe a webcam, etc. on. So if I didn't have anything to balance on, I would choose to use a box and some books. But please be careful that your device isn't balancing precariously. My device is very much barely off the edge. It is just looking at the first few bits of the piece of paper. If this is really a problem for you and you think there's no way you could let your work be seen, please just let your interviewer know, let the university know. We've got some template letters that you can use, etc. for this. But in case you can easily make something work, engineer something to work, then this is obviously a good option to also write. I'll also show you what it looks like from this angle. Obviously, with the way my tablet is structured, it's very much zoomed in. Your tablet may not be so zoomed in, my phone isn't so zoomed in, etc. So there are several ways of making this work.
This is an alternative phone setup you can try. First of all, log into Zoom on your main device, such as a laptop or desktop PC, and join audio on this device. Then log into Zoom on your phone, but do not join audio on this device. Make sure that your phone is well charged. Start sharing screen on this device. If you can, choose the option where you only share your camera view. If this is unavailable to you, you can choose the general share screen option, but make sure that your notifications are turned off at this point. For example, by turning your phone onto airplane mode. You can then arrange this setup with your working as shown, and using cans such as baked beans cans with your phone sandwiched between and the camera hanging over. Make sure your phone camera focuses well on the sheet, getting maximum view of your working but minimum view of the surroundings such as the table. You can adjust this by changing the amount of cans you have, or even putting things such as books before you put the cans. Practice writing with this format to make sure you don't bump into the cans and knock everything down.
Before you actually begin your Zoom interview, it might be worth that you start a meeting with yourself and you test a few things. Some of the things you can test include your speaker and microphone. If you click this button, Zoom makes you go through a few different steps to test your speaker and microphone. You can also start a video and check your video beforehand, making sure it looks okay. There is another dialogue so if you click this little button, you'll have a range of settings come up, and if out of those settings you selected video settings, there is an option. If you scroll down, there's an option to always show video preview dialogue when joining a meeting. Next up, you may also wish to check if you can screen share correctly. When you click screen share, you'll be shown with a range of options. You will be able to select specifically which windows you can share. Next, we'll look at specifically how to make sure your video looks okay. Once you are connected up to Zoom, you might see your video like this. You might also see a preview beforehand. Oftentimes, Zoom does allow you to have a preview. There's a setting for this where you can always show video preview dialogue before joining a meeting, as it says here, this particular statement. I'll just tick it again. I would recommend keeping this on just to be able to check your video before you hop onto your interview. Now, once you hop onto your interview, you might think, okay, as my video is here, I'm not very well lit, I'm a little lost in the room, you can't really see me that clearly. How do I change this? Well, there are several ways. Firstly, if your interview is during the daytime, I would make sure your device is essentially you're sat facing natural light, because then that will be the best way to make sure you look clear, no video is hazy, usually improves the quality of the video as well. If that is not possible, I would recommend turning a lamp on. So I have a lamp right here that I'm going to turn on. There we go. It's much brighter now, you can see me clearly, and it also means I can see my work very clearly. It's not necessarily a case of you'll be discriminated against in case your lighting isn't very much accurate, but it is sometimes a distraction for people if they can't see you very clearly. Similarly, with your background. My background isn't too cluttered at the moment, but if it was, there are several options for me. One option is a virtual background. I'll show you how to, so you click on your Zoom, you click on this little arrow next to stop video, and then you click choose virtual background. Here there are several default virtual backgrounds. Let's use one of the defaults. This is what it looks like. I actually may not necessarily always choose to use a virtual background for several reasons. Whilst it is very useful if my background is a bit busier, it also can be a little distracting if my virtual background is a bit random. For example, if my virtual background is a moving background, this may be a little distracting in your interview. Also, it may eat up into a lot of your computer's processing power. So your computer might not work as fast, your audio might be delayed, etc. So I'd be careful going a bit too crazy with your Zoom backgrounds, but also it is a very good way to ensure a cluttered background isn't very visible, especially if it's difficult for you to clear the background. However, the best option I would say is still, instead of using a virtual background, just having a plain background where not much is visible, if that is possible for you. Good luck with your interview. Please remember to not stress too much. It will be okay. You will make it through the interview. And I wish you, once again, the best of luck.